It was a curious coincidence. On a warm Tuesday morning, two babies let out their first cries in the same delivery room in a hospital. Both mothers lived just across the street from each other in a modest Ghanaian neighborhood. One was a boy named Bice, born to the Wusu family at 4:36 a.m. The other, a girl named Loretha, arrived just 30 minutes later to the menses at exactly 5:06 a.m. The mothers often joked about it in the early years, how the stars have just whispered to each other that day. Bice and Loretha, born under the same sky, raised in homes that faced each other, spent their early years together in the way that made them inseparable. The climbed mango trees, shared sugar bread, fought over whose drawing was better, and cried at each other's injuries. They walked to school side by side in dust covered sandals. The scent of charcoal and fried kiwi trailed behind them. At 7, Bice declared to Loretha with a puffed chest, "One day I'll marry you." Amma, the ever challenger, raised an eyebrow and replied, "You? You don't even share your meat." He did the next day. She never forgot. When they turned 13, everything changed. Loretta's father had landed a job in the capital, Accra. The family was moving. It wasn't just another adult decision. They were uprooting a connection that had taken years to form, like tearing out a tree by its root. The night before they moved, Loretta snuck out through the back door and crossed the road in slippers. Bice was already waiting in the shadows of their favorite neem tree. They sat in silence for a while. Then Loretta said, "You know, nobody will love us the way we love each other." Bice nodded solemnly, placing a smooth pebble in her hand. "Swear on this," he whispered. "I swear," she replied, walking pinkies with him. This was meant to be a playful vow, something silly to remember each other by. But as time would prove, it was the most serious promise they ever made. Loretta's life in Accra was different. She adjusted quickly. New friends, better schools, weekend classes, noisy city. But deep down, she never quite let go of that dusty neighborhood, of the boy with the quick laugh and stubborn heart. Love came her way, or what people called love. Teenage boys with smooth lines and empty promises. Men who sent roses but never really asked how her day was. She tried. Loretta did try. But something always felt wrong. Like she was holding someone else's shoes and trying to make it fit. Bai's story wasn't much different. He grew quieter after Loretta left. The neighborhood felt smaller, the games less interesting. He threw himself into his studies and later into work. He tried dating in the university, even thought he was in love once. It never stuck. No one ever felt as real as Loretta. They both walked through years of almost relationship, almost happiness, almost love. It had been nearly 15 years. Bice, now 28, was in Accra for marketing conference. He was walking out of a small cafe in Osu when he heard a voice say his name. Bice? Loretta? She hadn't changed. Not really. Her hair was longer, her frame slimmer, her eyes a little wearier. But it was her, the girl who had once told him no one would love them. They both froze. And then laughter, the kind that spills out without warning, laced with disbelief and awe. They hugged too long, like they were trying to prove to their hearts this was real. They started seeing each other again, not romantically, not at first. They met for lunch, reminisced about teachers and schoolyard diaries. They strolled across Art Center, laughed about old crushes, and danced around the subject of who they had become. But something began to reawaken, not like fire, more like a slow sunrise. Loretta noticed how Bai still bit his lip when thinking. Bice noticed that Loretta still twisted her bracelet when nervous. One night, under the warm street light, Bice finally asked, "Why didn't nobody ever love us the way we said?" Loretta stared at him. Maybe because we never let them. Maybe we were waiting for this. It took 6 months, but it happened. One Sunday morning, as they walked the beachside path near the La Pleasure Beach, Bice took Loretta's hand. "Remember that pebble?" he asked. Loretta smiled, digging into her purse. She still had it, smooth, gray, worn by time. "I keep my promises." "So do I," he said. Despite the connection, life was no fairy tale. Bai still lived in Kumasi, running a growing advertising agency. Loretta was deeply rooted in Accra, working as a project coordinator for an NGO. Their work schedule clashed like mismatched keys, and they'll go days, sometimes weeks, without a proper call. "What are we doing, Loretta?" Bice asked one evening during a call that had dropped